We're going to take a look at the British Kerr 44 caliber bullet, another bullet mold that just came into stock from Error's Gone Bullet Molds. So we're going to look at this one. It's a little bit different than the Colt styles. It is of an English design that was used for some revolvers that come in, but supposedly this is a universal one that'll work in all 44 caliber guns with ease. So let's take a look at what I come up with. Alright, this is another bullet mold from Error's Gone. It makes a historically correct bullet. You can go to his website and get the history on it and what guns they were used for. But what we have here, this one was already placed into a cylinder to check the deformation. These two are the Kerr and this is the Johnson & Dow, just for comparison. Now the thing about this British bullet, which is a little bit different, is if you notice as compared to the Colt style, or the, we'll call this a Colt style bullet, this Johnson & Dow, it has a grease groove and then it sits in the cylinder at this base here, at this point, okay? And then it's got that heel for a paper case, or to help line it up to the cylinder. Now, what's different with the Kerr is that when you put it in a cylinder, you have two grease grooves. There's actually, I should turn one of these over. Okay, actually the base has got a bevel to it here. I believe that was original. I don't think he'd put it on there if it wasn't, but it's beveled to help in seating it. So the bullet will sit in the cylinder up here, way up there, which is compared to the Johnson & Dow. Put these side by side again. Okay, this one's going to sit here and protrude there, where this one's going to sit here, which up to here with the Johnson & Dow, that's way over there. So the fact that the way this bullet's designed and it sits lower in the cylinder makes it easier to load into some guns, especially the Remington 1858s, without really having to modify the gun. It can be done. You don't have to modify the gun to get them to work as loose ammo. I don't know, and when you make a paper cartridge with this, what you would do is you would seat that up to this base here, this point, and the paper would cover these two lube grooves. Okay, so you can use this to make a paper cartridge. Now this bullet here, if you look, I pushed this down into a cylinder in my Remington 1858. And as you can see, it did kind of, with that rounded rammer, did kind of flatten the nose a bit, but not terrible. Actually, it probably reshaped it, still somewhat round and conical. So you don't have to have the Colt, that very deep, sharp Colt style ram that marries up to like here on a Johnson & Dow with this very sharp taper. This is more rounded, more blunt to begin with, so if you use this in a revolver that doesn't have a Colt style ram, it doesn't really harm it that much. So we're going to see. Alright, let me go and get my Remington and I'll show you how it kind of loads up. Well, lied to you fellas again. We're going to go with my Remington, or not my Remington, my Colt 1860. The reason I wanted to bring this one up first, get a better position in the light here. Yeah. Well, I'll try to do something better. But this gun had to have an area right in here on the frame removed. So the bullets can sit out here and then would be able to swing around, or could be loaded here. And that was with the Johnson & Dowell. And we'll take the Kerr, and as you see, we have to kind of go around and there. Now, notice where the Kerr sits there, and then with this gun, not a problem, would take right off. Now, if you go side by side with this, with the Johnson & Dowell, see if we can get a... You see the difference in where they seat? The Johnson & Dowell is way higher, where the Kerr is way lower. Now, I wanted to bring that up before we go to the Remington. So now we'll move on and take a look at the Remington. Okay, as we know with the Pieta Remingtons, the problem is the design is not exact as an original. The screw that is here that holds the ram assembly, it should be back further, and the whole thing, even the latch that holds the ram, should be moved forward like on an original. But for some reason Pieta moved this, and this creates a problem where the ram sticks out down in here. So a lot of your conical bullets have a hard time sitting on the cylinder and fitting under the ram. The Johnson & Dowell will. What you would have to do is load your chamber with powder and, like right over here, kind of fiddle with it at an angle, get it to drop down, and it will clear the ram. But you're not going to do that with a combustible paper cartridge. Now, the Kerr, on the other hand, again, I don't know about a combustible paper cartridge, because the problem is, even when you set this in there, the geometry of this frame, which would be this area right here, this here, would have to be ground back a bit, up here and to the back, so it gives it clearance so that bullet can swing around there. It's not been done. But say you loaded this cylinder here. Okay, sorry for the interruption, but as you see, this bullet will not go up against the frame, and so you got to kind of jostle it around, and if you angle this just right, like that, kind of push this up and then rotate it, you got to get it in a position about here, and then just that frame, don't want it to, then rotate it in, and then once it gets past the frame, it drops down. And as you see, more than enough room in there for the ram. Still not going to be able to get a paper cartridge in unless you take the edge of this frame back, grind this in this area here. But this will go in there, and like I showed you, it doesn't quite terribly deform the bullet much. So what I'm going to do is just load them with loose powder in the ball, and the bullet, and give it a try in this gun. But it should perform better than a real sharp Johnson & Dowell style bullet. Or at least that's his sales pitch. It isn't quite perfect without modification to the gun, but probably out of all the different conical bullets, this one's the easiest one to get in without really having to modify your gun too much and then try the benefits of a conical bullet. So that's it for the Aragon Kerr bullet mold thing. I'm going to try to get out to the range here. It might be a couple weeks, and then we're going to give them a try in our Remingtons and our Colt. Maybe run them side by side with the Johnson and Dow and see which one performs better. All right, guys, stay tuned.